That is why you should never have cottage cheese with anything.
During the EDM?
I mean, especially before a colonoscopy.
That is like the most midlife thing ever.
I was going to say, we just went straight into midlife.
Yeah. Congrats. You have to get medicals more often, and you also have to do your colonoscopy.
So wait a minute. Brian started it off at midlife, and then Geek just took it all the way down to the cellar of midlife.
Exactly.
Well, I'm at the point where I've had a second one. Which was
don't even start going down how many you've had and the drugs and all that.
Are you just doing that because is it recreational for you now? Or
Look,
sure. Let's go with
dude.
sure.
New listener, we're like, what is going on here? Yeah.
I'm telling you, the drugs are really good.
Okay.
Yeah.
No. When you have a history in the family, you got to get checked out.
Yeah. For you three, this isn't for our audience, but remember, if you get locked out of the chat and out of mute, it's Shift C.
Oh yeah. Yes.
So the real problem isn't being locked out of the chat; it's not being able to mute. That was the killer.
To part the C, Shift C.
There you go. Yeah.
And he's saying that because he knows I'll forget that command in about 3 minutes, and that way you could talk behind my back and in front of me.
Exactly.
So we have our.
Ironically, you can't see that Shift C note if you can't open private chat.
I was thinking the very first thing was.
If you can read this note, you don't need to know it. Yeah. All right.
We've got a nice cottage cheese discussion going on.
Oh man.
Yeah. This is the weirdest non-whiskey. Yeah.
That should have been the other name for the house that we stayed at in Bentonville.
Cottage cheese?
I wasn't there. I wouldn't know.
Yeah. I think it was funnier in Brian's head than it was.
It was. I'm sure we still left some groceries there.
Listen, I got a 5-star review from her as a guest, and I gave her a 5-star. I thought the place was great, so
I didn't think the place was great. I thought it was awesome.
It wasn't lit on fire, so. All right.
Well,
let's do it.
Yeah,
all right.
Let's go live.
Welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast. What is it like to become a pilot in midlife? The challenges are unique, but so are the rewards. Hosts Ben, Brian, and Ted talk learning to fly, growing as pilots, and the joy of flying to destinations. The purpose of the podcast is not to teach, but to share knowledge and experiences. You definitely should not take any advice too seriously from an aviation podcast that uses terms like icing on the vegetables. Okay, checklists are complete. Let's get the show started.
Hello and welcome to the Midlife Pilot Podcast, episode 173. This is a podcast where we share the experiences and challenges of flying in midlife. Today, we're going to be talking about certified versus experimental from a build, maintenance, and sanity perspective. With me today, as always, it's Brian, ground instructor extraordinaire, living under the Bachelorette Super Charlie, and he is flying a Cherokee 180 named Lucy. I almost called it a Cessna 180. You wished.
That would be amazing. I would go full high wing in 1 second. If anybody out there wants to trade, I'm sure my plane partner will go for it too. And if he doesn't, then he will have to just disappear and never be heard from again. I will trade the Cherokee 180 for a Cessna 180 at any time. But welcome and glad to be here. We're back home in our hometowns, in our little video windows, and not in the same room. Not as nice in that respect, but it is nice to be home.
Also joining us from the West Coast, one of my favorite towns, Portland, Oregon. It's our sport pilot extraordinaire, everybody's friend. Hello, Ted.
Hey, really glad to be here. And this is a great time of the year in Portland. I went out cycling and I went down and saw the cherry blossoms downtown. And it was just mobbed, just full of people there. So life's good here.
Nice. That's really cool. And also joining us from the Queen City, the guy with the weirdest North Carolina accent. He puts the mental in experimental. It's our friend Mark, also known as One Dog Geek. Hello, sir.
Hey, how are you guys doing?
Good to see you again, Mark.
Good to see you too. Hey, this is like 2 weeks in a row on the podcast for me.
Yeah.
So what's going on is I think Brian is slowly going to ease me out. He's been saying that he has something he wants to talk to me about. So just be prepared.
The next time you show up for another invite, it's just going to be you, and we're not even going to be here.
Okay, well, that would be a good way to lose followers.
I don't know about that. Yeah, so here in Atlanta, and maybe it's the same in Charlotte where Mark is, the pollinating has begun. It's every time you walk out to your vehicle, it is covered in yellow, and after you drive and wash your windshield off, come back 30 minutes later and it's completely covered again. So
yeah, I went and washed the car today, and then went to work out and came back, and it was yellow. It was like instantaneous.
No need to wash a car in Atlanta until probably mid-April for us.
I missed the time in my life where I did not really understand what that was, pollen.
Yeah.
I missed I missed the not knowing.
You know, what it makes me think of is that feeling where you accidentally hit the windshield wiper and it's the worst time of year to do it. It just smears everything and you're like, wow, I'm going to just clean the windshield. I can't clean the car. I just have to go out and do it because I can't even see. I'm going to like stick my head out the window now.
It's nuts. We're starting the daily Claritin regime just to fight it off.
Yep.
So, gentlemen, Ted, not Ted because he unfortunately wasn't able to make it last week, but I did want to ask both Mark and Brian, how was the flight back from Thaden Field?
Well, I will go first and say it was way safer than the flight out there. Okay. It was, I'm just kidding.
Bus went right over the top of my head right there. I saw it, didn't see it coming, clipped the hair a little bit.
If for those that didn't listen to the live episode, you should just know that you should listen to it so you know what we're talking about. But also, I think it is the only episode. Is it? Maybe there's more, but it just seems like you know it's going to be a good episode when it coincides with a NASA report. You know what I mean? Like, you know something really interesting is going on.
Yeah, behind the scenes, Brian says, "Hey, I'm going to publish this. I'm going to publish the pod." I say, "Hold on. I need to file a NASA report."
He is not joking about that.
Right?
The order of that. Yeah.
It's so funny because it's not meant to be funny. But I had a safe, great flight back. We had mega tailwinds like a lot of us did. I think we had a 30 or 40 knot tailwind or something. So I felt like I was in a real plane, you know? I felt like I was in a grown-up airplane. It was fantastic. We went back. We stopped at Union City, fueled up there again, and then headed on. And it was so nice. Bentonville is amazing, and we'll talk more about that to recap just a little bit before we get into our topic. But it is busy there. It is so busy. There is a lot going on, and you really need to be paying attention. And to get out of that area, and then the next stop to be landing in a place like Union City. Shout out to my friends at Full Stop Aviation. Those guys have helped me so many times out of jams, but a lot of aerobatic activity going on out there, a lot of fun stuff. But out there on a Sunday or Saturday afternoon, weekend, it was unbelievably peaceful. We were the only people anywhere around there. So to just take off from Bentonville and then land in a place where there was just not even a soul was such a nice little contrast, you know. It was great. And then we went on to John Tune. I dropped Katie off at John Tune, and then Luke and I went to Bowling Green, flew practice RNAV runway 3 into Bowling Green, and that was really nice. And got in there, put the plane up, and then drove back. You know how I have to do. So the only low spot for me on the flight back was, well, I would say one thing, it's not really a low spot, but it's just kind of interesting. We were so heavy. The autopilot and in cruise, depending on what the winds were doing, was not totally pleased. And it did mean that I think early on in the flight, I just decided to hand fly because it was just not able to do what it would normally do. And it was more aft than it usually is. So I thought that was kind of an interesting thing. But anyway, the other thing that was kind of a bummer is I landed at John Tune to drop off my wife. I mean, and it was just a land, open the door, here's the stuff, take it to the car that we already had stationed there, and then we just left. I was there for 5 minutes. Didn't get any
a full stop. Yeah.
But it was a full stop. I got a bill for $25. And I just thought, what is going on, man? Where all of the airports around here are just getting to the point where it's getting so highbrow and so not GA friendly. And I mean, they already pulled up the tie downs, the transient tie downs a year ago, so they are they're not very subtle in their messaging towards transient GA traffic, but baby B&A, aka John Tune Airport, I trained there. I have a soft spot for that location. It's right by my house. But man, it's become and the people there are great. They're very nice, but just the policies and all that. I couldn't believe I got charged $25 just to drop somebody off. So all of that to be said, and this is a little bit of a fold into what we're talking about later, is I find it hilarious. Who else listening out here? We get so bent out of shape over $25 when in the big picture, there are catastrophic financial things falling all around us as aircraft owners, renters, people involved in flying at all. We had the fella that we met in Bentonville that was the weatherman, Bruce.
Bruce, that's right.
And he said that he had 3.3 hours. And we were saying, think about how much money you've saved by only flying 3.3 hours. So it just brings to mind the strange mindset between aviation and efficiency and economy and how we feel about expenses and what feels right and what doesn't feel right. And as we get into the topic later, certified versus experimental, I think that the mental part will fall perhaps more on the certified end of that equation, but we'll go through that with our friend Mark here and everybody else today. But yeah, flight back was good.
Yeah, just to add to that real quickly, for me, it's not the $25. It didn't used to cost anything when you topped off, and now all of a sudden, for the exact same services I was getting before, I have to pay $25 for now. That's the rub. And the other aspect of it is the FAA did this ADSB mandate, and it feels like people are just glomming on and trying to make a buck off of it. And hopefully somebody will take that to court, challenge it or something, and it'll be short term, but who knows?
It's for my plane especially. I mean, if you're on the Jersey Turnpike and you see somebody show up in a toll booth that's saying, I'm sorry, I don't have any change, and they're driving a Model T, just let them go. Look at you've seen the paint job on my airplane?
Right. Yeah.
Well,
let's switch over to One Dog Geek and tell us about anything exciting on your flight home.
It was a pretty uneventful flight, and you and I were on 12275 for a good while. It wasn't until I got to Nashville Approach where I'm like, I think you're not going to get on Nashville Approach, and we're going to end up not hearing each other. But I heard, I listened, I had the radio on Bentonville CTAF for a long time, so I heard you call your taxi. I heard Brian take off, all of that stuff, and then once Brian got on, I never heard from him again. That was like the headwinds or the tailwinds, were significant enough that I got outside of Brian's radio range. So, but now Ben, you heard Brian for a while, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah. Did you hear me reaching out? Did you hear me trying to reach you guys?
I heard you once. I tried to call you back and you didn't respond. So
I couldn't hear me.
So we had a pretty fun flight back. It was at the very end. we did the trip. We had the same tailwinds, and so we decided just to go nonstop. And we're coming into McCollum, and the controller at the time is a friend. Grew up in the same small town. Sierra Whiskey, shout out. And there was a Cessna 150 on final, and we were in the downwind. And he comes on the radio, and he says, 14911, can you make a short approach? And I hesitated only for one reason. I was like, Terry hasn't done a short approach with me, and I don't want to make her nervous. And then that hesitation went away. I'm like, she'll like it. So I keyed up. I said, we absolutely can make a short approach. And I haven't done one at night in a very long time, so this was kind of fun for me. Chopped the throttle, dove for the runway. And as I'm diving for the runway, he comes back on the radio to the 150, and he said, do you have a turbocharger in that thing? You're hauling butt. And the guy kind of laughed a little bit, and he said, I'll pull it back. Nobody's ever asked a 150 to pull it back, but I'll do that. And so we got it down on the ground. It was fun to do a power off 180 at night.
Yeah.
And that was about it. Yeah, it was a pretty easy flight. So want to give a quick shout out to, we have a guy in the house, Mr. EZG. It's his birthday, so happy birthday.
Yeah.
He's celebrating the 20, I can't remember. I can't do the math. Never mind.
That went south.
Yeah, that went south quickly. I was trying to do quick math, and it just doesn't work for me. The 28th anniversary of his 21st birthday.
There you go.
So
okay.
Does that work? No, that doesn't work.
It's still wrong.
Still wrong.
49 or 59.
Yeah. Anyway.
Well, we're slightly off topic. I'll put a link to AOPA in the show notes. The PAPA bill, it's the Pilot and Aircraft Privacy Act bill, is the one to stop penalizing people for using ADSB and linking billing to your ADSB. There are versions of that in Florida. There are versions of that kind of at the federal level that are being kicked around. Hopefully they'll go into place and shame the company that tends to send out bills based on ADSB landings. So that's the PAPA bill.
Yeah, I knew there was something out there that was going on with that.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for bringing that up, Ted.
Yeah, because it's just it's criminal to take something as its impetus is safety and to use it now as a way to get rich. So. All right.
Captain Todd helped me with my math. Thank you, Captain Todd. It was a great video, too, that he posted just a couple of days ago. We are celebrating Mr. EZG's 32nd anniversary of his 21st birthday.
All right. Okay.
We got that out there because that was going to bother me the whole show. I couldn't make the brain synapses fire in the right connection. So why don't we move away from that? And Mr. Siskin, why don't we go ahead and hit the belly scrub if that's okay?
Let's hit the belly scrub, do a little housekeeping. And I forget who it was I spoke with at the event, but they said, you don't have to rush through it. I actually kind of like it. It's sort of I mean, they didn't say it exactly this way, but it's sort of a raspberry sorbet for the episode. You know what I mean?
I agree with
one.
them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I say all that. Here's
I'm timing it anyway.
Holding up a timer. Well, you got to restart it. I haven't. Okay. All right. All right, folks, you can join our Patreon community and help us keep the Midlife Pilot podcast ad-free. Your support makes the show possible, and every membership level gets you into our incredibly active Discord community. Our Orlando-matic members at just $1 a month, that's 25 cents per episode, get access to the community level Discord channels where pilots connect, share experiences, and support each other. At the Hershey Bar level and above, you'll unlock the full patron channels with expanded access to discussions on everything from instrument training, plane ownership, flight debriefs, safety, career changes. I love our Go No-Go channel, where if you are about to take a flight and you just need to source quickly maybe some information from the community on Go No-Go, or sharing a story about how you made a go no-go decision, we have a dedicated area for that, which I think is one of the coolest things in there. Well, I just made it that longer now, so that's good. Plus exclusive behind the scenes content, extended interviews, and deeper conversations that we can't share anywhere else, not just for legal reasons. At the caps available level, you'll get into our podcast insiders channel where you can see how the show gets made. Plus, 10% of every dollar goes directly to Freedom Aviation Network's anti-human trafficking efforts. For everything Midlife Pilot Podcast, to support us on Patreon, send feedback, grab merch, check out event information, read our blog, and more. Visit midlifepilotpodcast.com. And if you're enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and we'll read it on the air. We've got a good one coming up on this episode. Hit subscribe or follow in your podcast app so you never miss an episode. It really helps other midlife pilots find us. That's it.
Excellent.
Very nicely done. Ted, we've got a few Patreons since the last episode.
Yeah.
You wanna tell us about that and the Discord accomplishments as well?
Yeah, let's catch up on that. So I want to thank the people that have joined us on Patreon. We've got Bob W., who rejoined us, and we've got David W., who is new. At the Beast Stole Kit level, we have Joe M., and at Caps Available, we have Chuck, our friend Chuck K., who upgraded to that. And it's great to see everybody join. And hi, Chuck. Nice to see you there.
Yeah.
And we got Bob W. is in the chat as well.
Oh, nice. And over in Discord land, kind of rolled up some of the accomplishments. First one that didn't get mentioned because of the fly-in last week was BitShifter passed his instrument written.
All right.
Getting
Nice.
perilously close to another Czech ride. So
Yeah.
I liked that.
That's great.
Rick M. passed a big hour milestone and shared it with us. Big Osman did his cross-country in the UK and shared the fields involved, which I'm sure they were literal fields, which is what's so cool there. That was nice to see. And Virgil showed a picture. He won vintage best in show trophy. That might have been for him. It might have been for the plane. We'll just leave it up to you. So
Maybe it was a combo.
yeah.
If Big Osman is listening, I'd like to know, in the UK, it feels like there's more grass strips than there are asphalt strips. And I'd like to know if that's true or not. That would be awesome to fly around there. It looks amazing.
I still wish that we could have an international summit of all of the folks from all over the world in one call. But yes, it would be really hard for certain people.
So, we've been contacted by a very large aircraft manufacturer to sponsor. And I think maybe we should just have them sponsor a international meetup. And,
There you go.
Go with that route. And then we'll put their name all over it.
I'm going to change the belly scrub.
There is a reason we're not playing ads. Despite occasionally getting really weird proposals for ads, it's nice not to have those.
Amen to that.
Yeah, that's
Amen.
why Ben has his OnlyFans.
It only took like 130 episodes for you to bring the OnlyFans comment out. I'm a little surprised about that. So tonight we're talking experimental versus certified airplanes, and we're going to approach it. We've talked about this, I think, in previous episode a while back, but we're going to take this under a little bit different context. We want to kind of hit, why do people choose experimental over certified? Is it cost, control, pride of ownership, performance? And we brought our friend Wendell Geek on this because he is in the midst of, well, I wouldn't say the midst, he's beginning his journey in the experimental world. He has put forth, I don't want to say he's paid for, but he has started the process of building a TL Sparker. Is that correct?
That is correct.
In Croatia, if I'm not mistaken.
Czech Republic.
Czech
Close enough.
Republic. Okay. Eastern Europe. I couldn't remember.
Ben's just like, it's far away and it starts with a C.
Yes. Well, I mean, So
yeah.
we wanted to maybe get his perspective. Also, Ted, your flying the egg is experimental, is it not?
Everybody thinks so.
Today. It's not. It's certified.
No, it's neither. It is special light sport. 91205 does not apply because it's not a standard category. So it's kind of in between experimental and not. So it's typical it uses experimental instruments, for instance, because it doesn't have to meet Part 23 standards. Hey, we've talked about MOSAIC. We could go into that now. So, but yeah, back to the Sparker. Yeah.
Well, I would like to set the stage a little bit. Let's get some definitions and some clarity around this so that everybody can follow along, including me. That's really what I'm trying to do here. So, all right. Now, this all your journey, Mark, has been you started in a Cherokee 140. Her name was Maggie. Loved that plane. Beautiful plane. A little underpowered perhaps, and maybe not quite what you needed. Then you are now in a partnership in a Cherokee 235, and that's been going for a while, and that seems to have been pretty good. It's a good plane, and you've put some good things into it. You've had some, let's say, life changes lately. You've made some decisions about whether you actually leave the house every day or not, and you decided that you'd rather not have to leave the house every day if you don't want to.
It's pretty awesome, by the way. Just a heads up on that. It's pretty awesome.
So you're probably in that weird state where you're, it's almost like being a teenager when you sleep till noon and you're like, why is it already dark outside? I'm still in my pajamas, So enjoy. I'm happy for your retirement, and I think it's a great beginning for you. And you are seizing the day. You set yourself up, thought about this deeply, and I want to hear more about how you arrived at this, but through the lens of those of us that are trying to understand certified aircraft and experimental aircraft. And we'll maybe keep Ted's
limbo plane.
Yeah, Ted's is like. Do you remember that soda Tab? Ted's is like Tab. It's sort of in its own area. It has.
When I was growing up, we called Tab twice neutered. No sugar, no caffeine,
and 1 calorie. Yes. How did they get it? How did they get it to be 1?
Yes. Well, there are some things that it has in common with experimental, and one of the things is I can always choose to make it experimental. And you can't do that with your Cessna. So if the factory doesn't do what I want them to do on letting me install things, I can say, fine, it's experimental now. It's one way, can't go back, but so it's close to experimental.
Well, so let's set the stage a little bit in terms of problem solving, because Mark, as your circumstances have evolved and as your flight experience has evolved, I would like to hear, if you could outline for everybody listening, what is the problem with certified aircraft and ownership? And then how are you feeling that, absorbing that, dealing with that? And at what point did certified turn on you? and then you go the other way. But I just want to kind of really articulate the problem of, not the problem, but the unique challenge of a certified aircraft.
Yeah, so the biggest thing that I like about certified aircraft is that there's a low cost of entry, right? Getting in is pretty easy. It's right. It does not take a ton of money to get in, about the price of a car, basically, to get in. But you pay for that on the back end by having to have extremely expensive maintenance, extremely expensive parts, and only specific people who can work on it for the most part. Barring the Khalil decision or write up, right? But so I have owned a PA-28 airplane for almost 5 years now, between the 140 and the 235. And the cost of maintaining one of those airplanes has consistently gone up every single year. And to the point that last year, collectively, the three of us spent $10,000 in maintenance. And that's just an insanely it feels to me like, I don't know what your guys' experience is, but it feels to me like an insane amount of maintenance. And so part of what this decision for me was I knew I wanted to be experimental. I knew I enjoy getting my hands dirty. I enjoy working on the airplane. In fact, I just set up the schedule with my AMP for our airplane where I'm going to go tutor under him. And I'm noticing my count going up as I speak. Anyway, I'm going to go tutor under him because I like working on the airplane. And having an experimental, there are a lot more opportunities for me to work on the airplane. So part of my math here is that the cost of entry to get into a certified airplane is low. As a consequence, the cost of insurance is low. But the cost of maintenance is just high and increasing. So what I'm hoping is that I will be able to get into an experimental where the cost is the cost of entry is quite a bit higher, which means the cost of insurance is quite a bit higher, but the cost of maintenance is lower. And I'm hoping that the cost of insurance will be high but decreasing, as opposed to the cost of maintenance, which is high and increasing. And so that's the basic trade-off that I am gambling on. I'm honestly placing a bet. I don't know that it's going to work out this way.
Yeah, but at least and we'll get into this, but at least you know that the trade-off, because everything in aviation, like Ben always says, it's so true. Everything in aviation is a trade-off. You do know that, and we'll get into this more, but I feel like there's something about if you're taking on the suffering, it might as well be through a construct in which you can control. And that's a particular satisfaction. And the other thing that you didn't really get into, but maybe you can speak to a little bit, is parts availability.
Yes.
And
so
the fact that you can't just fabricate things, and
yeah. So that is a huge part of the cost associated with maintenance on an experimental, is that the parts are so much less expensive. The same exact part that is a certified part is significantly less expensive as a non-certified part. On top of that, I'm going to have a Rotax 916 engine, and I can and probably will use, automotive spark plugs. Spark plugs costing, for an entire set, the whole set costing less than a single one of the spark plugs in our Cherokee 235. So it just opens up a whole bunch more avenues for me to be able to contain and control costs. In addition to, the airplane's pretty fast. It's modern. It was designed well after my children were adults, right? As opposed to the 235, which was designed mostly before my parents were born. And so that means it's a whole lot more efficient. If I do a sort of quick MPG comparison, in calm winds, I would get probably about 12 miles to the gallon in the 235, and I'm going to get about 26 miles to the gallon in the Sparker.
Wow.
So
I want to point out Lord Alpha Juliet's in the chat, and he pointed something out to me with one mutual friend has a plane whose rear seat broke, the frame, something on the frame. I don't know exactly what. But to fix it, the shop on the field does not have a welding station. And it's funny to me how in the certified world, it's got to be done with all these parameters. He's going to have to go to a welder that's certified to work on aircraft, just like you would if you're building your own frame out or whatever. And it's no different than the experimental in that regard. Well, I guess it is different in that you guys, I guess, could go to any welder you wanted to if you needed something attached. It goes so much into the weeds of what has to be done in the certified world. And that's where the costs come in, because now you've got a second and third party getting involved, and everybody's got to get paid. So it just goes deeper and deeper down the wormhole. I'm surprised more experimental aren't out there flying than there are right now, to be honest with you.
Well, I think that I suspect that MOSAIC is going to have an impact, because once the SLSA standards are defined such that this airplane that I'm buying could be an SLSA and has a whole lot less requirements for maintenance. To do maintenance on this, you take a 2-week course, and then you can do maintenance on an SLSA, as opposed to a 3,600-hour A&P course for a certified airplane.
Yeah. 2 years of your life for 2 weeks, and I think even the 2-day one gives you quite a bit with SLSA. But so the reason that you are saying that your plane, your upcoming plane, as an SLSA versus experimental is the factory can build it as an SLSA. The factory has no interest in building it as a Part 23 plane. Really, nobody does anymore, right? But they're like, why would we do that? We'll just sell them as kits and let people build them themselves and not deal with that. So SLSA lets everybody go around and start building these. And the idea is that's safer than experimental. You could argue it might be less than Part 23. Don't know about that. But the idea is you'd be safer in a factory-built plane than experimentally built one. Same plane, though, which is great.
Here's what I want to know. And again, I love the concept of all of this. If the beast were suddenly sold and gone, I probably would pursue the same route. My question, though, is that 2-week course going to give you enough knowledge to prepare you for what you need to do on your airplane? Do you think that? Have you taken the 2-week course, Mark?
I haven't taken the 2-week course. Part of the reason that I want to do experimental as opposed to LSA is because I want to spend a lot of time, as much time as possible, getting to know the airplane. And that's important to me. And I'm probably going to pay a little bit more for that opportunity, but it's valuable in the long run for me. Do I think the 2-week course is going to be enough? I think the 2-week course is probably enough for people who are already sort of mechanically inclined and spend a lot of time working with their A&P and do annuals and get supervision from their A&P. That might be enough for them. But for the average person, probably not. This would be my guess.
I mean, the point is that in 2 days or 2 weeks, you're not going to go out and know how to do everything. You're going to have an idea of what the rules are to get you started. And if you need to learn how to work on mechanical devices, that's not the way to do it, I guess.
One thing I want to get into is, and I was having a conversation with Tailwheel Ben earlier today about this.
Everybody drink.
Yeah, I was giving you guys there it is. Wait, did you put it up? Oh, there we go. All right. Yeah. All right. There's the
favorite.
ticker. Yeah. So I was talking with our friend Tailwheel Ben earlier, and he's got a Cessna 140 and a J3 Cub. We were talking about. I was actually presenting to him what we were going to be talking about tonight, and we had a really interesting conversation about it ahead of time. But I think one of the things that was most interesting about our conversation was we were really focused on the mentality or the position, the state of mind of having a certified aircraft that you unwittingly walk into having to have when you get an aircraft. So what I mean by this is to say, I didn't realize when I got into a Piper Cherokee 180, like you said, Mark, low barrier to entry, a partnership, right? A piece of a less than expensive plane. Oh, great. I'm in. I've got a plane. Oh, wait a minute. I am now essentially a living museum caretaker of an antique or vintage aircraft that is a certified aircraft, and you have, just like I think with anything, a car or whatever it is, I think anything old and of its time is worthy of preservation and worthy of care, and the best way to do that in many cases to keep them flying, right? Just like the commemorative Air Force does and all this. So if the commemorative Air Force is putting this much energy and having fun drives and square dances to try to keep a PT-19 flying, well, that plane was built in the 40s. The plane I'm flying was only built a couple of decades after that. I mean, we're really flying these absolute antique and vintage aircraft. And I think that the thing that you have to enter into, whether you realize it or not, when you take on the lower front end cost approach of a certified, cheaper aircraft, this is not to say all certified aircraft are cheap. Let's just make sure we make that clear. I mean, a Cirrus is a certified aircraft and it is not cheap. But in the way that we're talking about this, you become a steward of this airplane. And so that changes the value system and the prism through which you look at what you're doing. Because on one hand, yes, you are battling just the pragmatism of how do I keep this thing flying and just how can I use it? I've got a thing I got to do next week or whatever. Well, if you're flying around a museum piece, you kind of have to give the plane and the circumstances a little bit of grace and not impose on those circumstances the reliability expectation and the readiness expectation of a new aircraft, whether certified or not. You're dealing with old mechanical devices and things that have been stepped in and out of many, many times. So I think that's an interesting mindset. Now, Mark, for you, with respect to straddling these worlds, and the pendulum is now swinging slowly as you go into experimental world and you're beginning to, and maybe let people know what your plan is with the 235 and why your share of that. But the balance, let's be honest, you're getting a TL Sparker. I like to call it the TJ Hooker. You've never laughed once when I've said that, so I know that it bothers you, but it's still exactly what I think every time I say it. Incredible airplane. I can't believe if you don't just say, "Hey, Brian, I'm coming by for lunch," and it's 11 a.m. If you don't do stuff like that, like I'm gonna be so furious because you're time traveling soon. But as that pendulum swings towards the experimental world, and you're the balance of your flying and ownership is going to go in that direction. Is there anything that you have perceived, even maybe at this early stage, about your mindset around the caretaking and being a steward of an older aircraft? And there is a certain, I don't know, there's a certain satisfaction, I think, to that on some level that does cost more money and some time and trouble, versus are you just kind of so ready to leave that behind and you don't care?
No, not at all. I think about, like, when I sold Maggie, I sent this letter off to the new owner that said, you are basically the next person in the long line of people who have cared for this airplane. You have a responsibility. I hope that I have held my responsibility for you. My job as a steward, it was not ownership. And for a 60-year-old airplane, that job is a lot harder because it's got 60 years of history, and the probability that it got through that unscathed is decreasingly low, right? But I love the 235. I think I was mentioning that to you when we landed at Union City.
Yeah.
I'm so looking forward to flying the Sparker. I am so looking forward to experiencing that. But at the same time, I really love that airplane. It is such a fun airplane to fly. I got a vernier mixture knob in it, and man alive, the wide open throttle, control the power with the mixture is so much better. It's so much fun. And that, in a FADEC controlled airplane, that's going to disappear, right? There's a whole bunch of things that my flying's going to change in the newer aircraft, that I'm not going to maintain as many things. I'm not going to, flying's just going to look different. And that said, part of the reason I'm keeping my share in the 235 is because I'm only going to have 2 seats in the in the Sparker. And so that means that this trip that we make with this couple friend of ours pretty much once a year is going to be impossible in that airplane. And keeping the share of the 235 is relatively cheap. I mean, the way that our partnership is structured is the person who flies the plane tends to pay the most. So I fly a lot. When in the new scenario, I will fly a whole lot less, which means I will pay less for the maintenance of the airplane. So I am keeping my foot in both worlds. And part of it is that I love that airplane. It's such a great airplane. And also, I got to demonstrate how much faster it is than their Cherokee 180.
We saw that up close and personal.
Yes.
It's like, here comes Geek in the left lane.
and how stable it is even without the autopilot. There's two things that I always remember from my long time motorcycling that always bring me back to this. And the first is about having vintage vehicles, having things like that. And it's when I first started riding, I went over to a guy's house he was going to help me wrench on this thing, and went over there and he was talking about buying a cheap motorcycle. And he said, "Do you want to ride or do you want a hobby?" And that, I remember that in a lot of ways. I also used to run Linux as a desktop, and it was the same thing. It was a hobby. I don't want my airplane to be a hobby. I want to get in and use it. I've had things that are hobbies. Those can be different things. You can have your daily driver and you can have your hobby car on the side, or you can just have several hobby cars, Brian. But the other thing was, I generally had a very fast, loud, obnoxious motorcycle and a very boring one. The boring one is the one that I took to South America, and I took above the Arctic Circle, and I took all those places. It was boring, completely boring. It's a minivan. You start it up, it starts every time. There's just nothing to it. That's why you take it there. You don't want the excitement. You want the thing that starts and runs and just, you don't have to think about. And that is what a new experimental / whatever plane is for me. You may not have the love, the character, but boy, character when you're sitting at Union City waiting for a part to come in, that character really, you realize how much you love character. And I know you know that. And hey, I've been stranded too, so it doesn't always apply.
Yeah, wanted to hit a comment from Grizzly when we talk about the maintenance side of it. He says, something you have to really think about and be honest with yourself is holding yourself to high enough standards, really easy to cut corners when you're working on your own airplane. He added that last part, but very, very good comment. To your point, Brian and Mark, the Beast is the plane that I learned in. I've done everything in my aviation journey for the most part in it. All that to say, and I agree with you 100%, Ted, that do you want a hobby plane or do you want a functional plane? This is definitely a functional plane with hobby aspects to it, but it's my baby, or it's our baby. There's an emotional attachment to it. When I hopefully soon get a job flying airplanes, I'm not going to just walk away from it. I plan on keeping it up in the air and staying proficient with it for as long as we agree to keep it. So I do think there is something very important about that.
I think you called me out, Ted, and I appreciate that. I have a problem. I have a problem because I feel that some of these things are just so special and just deserve, I don't know, some kind of just people to really appreciate them. So yeah, when you have a 1985 Toyota MR2 and you have a 1985 Celica GT, and then we also inherited my wife's father's Volvo 940, a 94 Volvo 940. We are, and it's so funny too, because it's like the MR2, are you going to take that on a road trip? Well, if you want to lose your hearing, you can, but if you were riding with somebody else and you'd like to have a conversation, that thing's at like 5,000 RPM on the modern interstate. Good luck with that. then you've got I don't know. You end up with these special use circumstance kind of tools. So to have something that's just the panacea, the cure all, this thing just works for every scenario, that is massive. I am curious about, and I want to dig a little deeper about the question that was just asked around maintenance and self-governance. So Geek, you're talking about, obviously you have a head start on the maintenance front because you've owned a certified or 2 certified aircraft. So there's your pre-production right there. But well, let me just set the stage also with another piece of this, which is just that the problem, I believe, the reason why there's such a shortage of mechanics in the GA world is because of no specialization. I shouldn't also have to know how to understand every system in a citation to fix a Cherokee 140, right? The spectrum is too wide, and the demand and the ask and the hours is too many. If I don't know why they don't have specialization lanes that are more defined. In this case, you get to do that. You get to have a specialized lane that is to a particular aircraft. So I mean, how cool is that? But like, how do you govern yourself, Mark? How do you, in the same way that we have pilot minimums about what things we believe, even though just because you can doesn't mean you should, right? In so many cases. So have you been thinking about that?
I have actually. My sort of standard will be, if I have worked on it with an AMP before, and I feel comfortable tackling it again, then I'll take a chance at tackling it. Otherwise, I'm going to go spend time with my AMP and say, hey, I don't understand how to do this. I already know that where the Rotax manufacturer is in Florida, and there are several courses that I have signed up for to take those courses. I did take the LSRI course, the 2-day LSRI course, and the main thing that I took from that course was, I see that course as a warning. You do not know how to do what you're getting certified to do here. Because we spent 16 hours just going over unbelievable in-depth of all the stuff you had to do in order to be able to complete an inspection on experimental owned or light sport owned aircraft. And it was overwhelming. And the main lesson I took away is, I don't know enough. I can get that certification, but I don't know enough.
Yeah, that's, it's one thing that you've got to, is it the Dunning-Kruger effect? You got to start understanding what you don't know and be humble about it. I wanted to ask why you did not choose the Sling TSI and why you chose as Brian likes to call, the TJ Hooker.
I wish I could do a Captain Kirk impression. I really do, but I can't do it. Because right now it would be appropriate to like throw that in there. Ted was probably more privy to my debate on which of those 2 airplanes to choose. And it was a very, very difficult choice. Ultimately, the reason I chose the Sparker was because I asked for a couple of owners of a TSI to send me their weight and balance sheets. And okay, I should say that this is the deciding factor. This is the thing that was the final straw. This is not, there was tons of stuff going up to this, but the final straw was I asked for owners of Sling TSIs to send me their weight and balance sheets and their documents. And then I also asked for a couple of owners of Sparkers to send me their weight and balance sheets. And I couldn't get the TSI to work in the configurations that I wanted to fly. It was effectively a 2-seat airplane, maybe a 3rd seat. And if it was a 2-seat airplane, then I wanted to go a little bit faster. And so the Sparker fit better.
Yeah, that was many, many spreadsheets when he says I was part of the thought process or decision process. It was good in the kind of nerd way of kind of challenging priors and why did you say this? Why do you believe this? Because that isn't consistent with this other thing you said. And so it's been really fun to kind of talk through that with Mark. And
it has been fun. I have very much enjoyed your feedback on that. That was great fun.
Yeah.
If we went back in our little DM in Discord, it would take probably an hour to scroll to get back to, because of the amount of stuff that we talked about.
Can we do for our Patreon content? Can we hire voice actors to reenact your Discord chat?
That would be fun. Mark, do you have a time set up when you're going to start working on the TL Sparker?
I have a time set up with the distributor tomorrow. I'm calling him tomorrow morning to find out what the next steps are. Because it's been one of the things that's been a bit of a frustration for me is that we haven't been able to set a date on when I'm going over there. I'm not sure exactly what the reason is, but I get the impression that the North American distributor is a little bit frustrated with it too. But it is what it is.
Right.
So I'm hopeful that I'll be able to head over there sometime in late June and maybe early July and get back just in time for Oshkosh.
So
cool.
we can count on you for doing maybe a regular check-in with you on how things are going with that?
I have picked a paint scheme, so that was fun.
We'll drop that. We'll drop that in the Patreons or Discord so people can see that. And also, we would like everybody's feedback on this, and we're going to bring you back, Mark, and we're going to follow along as you hit milestones. And I'm just proud of you, man, because it's a huge endeavor, and it's the furthest that I've heard of anyone going for cup holders.
It is a long way, and he's probably teeing you up to replace me, so you might be coming back a lot more than you really think. But
nope, that is not. Nope.
Yeah,
we got some. Thanks for your time on this, Mark. I do appreciate it, and it's insightful, and it kind of. I've always got Plan B in mind if something were to happen with the airplane, if it got sold or whatever. So I'm really. It's fun to follow you on this path, and we know a few other people that have gone down similar paths. So
now,
looking forward to seeing
your
more
plan.
about it.
Your plan B is to steal his plane, right?
I mean, I wasn't going to announce it, Ted. But, I mean, why would I tell him in front of his face that I'm going to steal his airplane? But
just took notes on a criminal conspiracy. Yeah.
there we go.
Well, so one of the options in the airplane is to just get a key that locks the outside and just have a push button start rather than having to insert a key. I think I'm going to go with the key.
Is there going to be a picture of William Shatner on the tail?
So, by the way, that plane being a canopy, Ted, can you make a note to excerpt that moment of Mark telling us that so that we can use that later on? Okay, we're gonna need that. We're gonna need that snippet. Okay, yeah. I can promise you that. All right, you want to get to some feedback, fellas,
and a review.
Oh, well, yeah, the feedback in this case, I guess. Oh, yeah, we have feedback and a review. I'll read the review or the feedback, either one. Which one?
You're better at reading because I have that redneck, middle
you
Georgia.
Read the review.
I'll
read the
do
review
the
real quick.
because it's going to be easier
Knock
for
out
me.
the review. Knock out the review real quick, Ben.
All right, here we go.
You can do it.
This is from Blue Max 4. He gives us 5 stars. The title of the review is Great for All Levels. The Midlife Pilot Podcast is such an easy listen. It's entertaining, genuinely informative, and great whether you're brand new to flying or have years of experience. The hosts keep it real and make every episode worth it. So very nicely written.
Keeping it real.
Thank you, Blue Max 4.
Thank you. All right, so please feel free to send in more reviews because it helps us with the, I don't know, whatever algorithm or whatever Ted's running on his computer over there. Ted, are you in charge of the algorithm?
Yes. Yeah. It
I
runs in my
thought so.
basement. Yeah.
Yeah. Like every time I see a video of like a Bangladeshi click farm, I think that's Ted's basement. It's like 3,000 cell phones, All right. This feedback, it's a little long, but we'll get through it. And thanks for everybody sticking around. This is a really good one and totally worth it. And I really want to hear your feedback on this, Ted, because this is right up your alley.
Yeah.
From Sierra Victor. Good day, boys. I apologize up front for the lengthy email. I'm Sierra Victor, and I live in Surprise, Arizona, which is just west of Phoenix. Is Surprise, Arizona a place, or was that supposed to be a surprise? Okay. Okay. All right. Well,
I think you forgot to capitalize it. It sounds like it's a city.
The R&D department did not include any citations or verifications with this. So he says, I'm an aspiring pilot. Here we go. Ben, I told you. you cursed me.
Would you like for me to take over?
I'm an aspiring student pilot and came across your podcast a few months ago. And I have to say, you guys have been an inspiration to me. As a fellow midlife dude, wanting to become a pilot has always been a lifelong dream of mine. But like most, life got in the way. Career kids, then kids sports, hockey. Now that life seems to be settling down, knock on wood, I'm in the beginning stages of starting my journey and currently getting self-schooled up in ground school. To make matters better, my 14-year-old son wants to get after his PPL, and figure it would be best to do it together and hopefully in turn inspire him. I wanted to share some of my struggles before taking off, no pun intended. I served 7 years active duty in the Navy and deployed to the Middle East back in 2007. I sustained some injuries during my time, and my dreams of wanting to fly were crushed as I've heard horror stories of VA disabilities and working towards meeting the FAA medical requirements. Thank you for your service, and that's rough, right? I mean, I can't even imagine. There's just a lot of sacrifice there, and you don't think about even the tertiary sacrifices like that. So thanks for that. He says, I could go after my third class, and I'm sure I would be fine with some hoops to jump through. The major concern for me is just simply dealing with the VA. And since their language is so generalized with veterans, I didn't want to risk being denied for reasons that I normally wouldn't if not having a VA medical. I could go into details, but ask any veteran, and I'm sure they would tell you the same thing. I would love to hear actually from other veterans about any experience like this. Okay, he says, this brings me to MOSAIC. Last October, I was sitting by the pool, catching some rays, don't be jealous, and saw this 172 buzzing around the area above my house and thought to myself, man, that would be so cool to do. So I jumped on the Google machine and came across this article from AOPA about the MOSAIC rule and was happy as all good be. Is that an expression? Happy as all good be. I haven't heard that one yet.
It is now.
In Ben's neighborhood, it'd be all get out.
That's right.
Bless her heart.
So he says, being an aviator is possible, given that there would be no hassle with the VA and medical and could complete a lifelong goal. Sounds like a win for me. Time went on, and through various interactions with local pilots in my area and casual conversations, I got discouraged very quickly. In these conversations, it kind of felt like the sport pilot thing is taboo or lesser than. Wow, this is okay. When I talk about starting ground school and sharing my excitement about wanting to fly, the people I talk to share the same energy. But as soon as I mentioned that I was going after sport pilot, I get the side eye and sounds coming from them. The conversations usually end with, just go get your PPL. You'll never fly anything bigger than LSAs. It's boring. Keep dreaming, etc. Frustrating to say the least. Man, I've got a lot to say about this, but I'm going to let Ted do it for me because I can see Ted's ready to go. All right. He says, I'm not the one for having others crap on my dreams, but I wanted to get your perspectives and insights. Is this typical of the flying community, or do I just seem to want to talk to ignorant folks? Also, do you foresee the sport pilot community getting bigger in terms of more CFIs, clubs, and insurance companies getting on the MOSAIC train? Lastly, what are some encouraging words of wisdom you could pass on to this midlife dude? And then he says, love your podcast and your guys' energy. Keep up the strong work, boys. Thank you so much for that, Sierra Victor. And
very much so.
Ted, take it away.
Yeah, he also asked if I knew any sport pilot CFIs in the Phoenix area. Between him and downtown Phoenix is Glendale, and at the Glendale airport is Fly Eagle Sport. They have a bunch of Remoses, two-seaters, and it's basically what they made their school out of. It's fantastic. So Fly Eagle Sport in Glendale, you'll find Well, any CFI can be a sport CFI. So, right, it's just the other way around. It doesn't always work. But it's cool that there's a full school there. This is definitely a thing that you're lesser than as a sport pilot, and you just kind of get used to it. I know you've never heard of somebody who's a sport pilot. I know you thought we could only fly 10 miles away from our airport. I know you thought that, we were flying hang gliders. I get it. That's okay. I'm flying. I don't care. Whatever you're thinking about it, I'm just doing it. The clubs and schools that tend to have restrictions against sport pilots, some of that is ignorance. I have been at more than one school where they said, I don't think our insurance will work for somebody who doesn't have a medical. And I said, great, let me read your insurance. They pull it out and it says, you have a medical if that's required. And so it's, if you're flying first or third class, it requires a medical. That doesn't mean a medical is always required. So, but they're not used to this. They've seen 1,000 students. They've seen one sport pilot. So that's common. The thing is, it doesn't matter. This gets you in the door. This lets you fly. This lets you scratch the itch. You're midlife. This is different than if you're 19, you're probably on the career track. You are just trying to get through the flying so you can go make money at it. So those are my thoughts on it. There is definitely the bias, and sport pilot friend Chuck also said where he's seen that is, well, sport pilots, they're okay with it. They just don't think that we should be trusted with bigger planes. So, you're a sport, you shouldn't be allowed on 172 or 182. And so that's the sort of thing that's happening now. Now that MOSAIC's kind of opening that up.
Which, by the way, it's hilarious because if you took a lot of people that are 172 trained and put them in a CTLS, they would lose their minds. They would not be able to land that plane. But go ahead. Yeah.
It took me 100 hours to learn how to land it. But and it's like, how many Bravos have I transitioned through? Go ahead and compare that to an average private pilot. It is so different. It's just, it depends who you are as a pilot and what your goals are and everything else. So whatever. That is mostly about other people's impression. There are the few things where it gets in the way, such as insurance, or if they have a rule against it. Doesn't matter, right? Just learn to fly. Enjoy it. Know that there's going to be people that don't get it. That's okay. Just enjoy flying, please.
My only comment is the aerodynamics don't care about your licensure. Nobody cares in that regard. But the other question that I have an opinion on this, but I don't know if it's justified, which is that I think that with higher performance airplanes that become available with the LSA rule, I think sport pilot's going to be different. I think a few years on, we all may have a different sort of general attitude about sport pilot, because you can still get in. My airplane will fly 175 knots and it will be an LSA and can be completely fine for a sport pilot to fly.
Yeah. And that is one thing. Imagine you are creating a school, right? You're going to set up your school and you're going to do training. When you see 100 pilots come in the door, you can make a choice. Are you going to push them toward sport or toward private? Even if they're on a career track, send them towards sport. It gets them flying sooner. You don't have to wait for them to get their medicals. It's one more check ride, but no big deal, right? And we heard from CFI Sam a little while ago about that, and about sport pilot soloing versus private pilot soloing. So there are some advantages to it, but you think about it from that perspective, maybe we'll see a lot more because it gets you in the door. It lets you start flying.
So here's what I'd like to say about this. For 99% of us, Brian, myself, all of us, it's the joy of getting in an airplane and getting above the earth and going from one place to the next. Ted has flown his plane from Oregon to Texas. He's flown it all over the West Coast. It doesn't matter what kind of certificate you hold.
Yeah.
The joy of flying is why we do this, and that's all that should matter. It doesn't matter what other people say about whether, just get it done. And the sport pilot, I mean, there's so many examples on YouTube. You got Fly Me to the Fun, who's flying a Cessna 150 out into the Caribbean. You've got these people making these huge trips. And to me, and for a lot of us, that's the joy of aviation. So don't let anybody rob you of that.
Yeah, and with respect to the community comment that he mentioned about, am I just kind of talking to the wrong people? Yes, you are. It's not surprising to hear that that's been the experience, but unfortunately, there is an inherent subset of pilots that are really into the bravado of being a pilot and comparing. And we've done episodes about this. I've written about this, thought about it a lot. Comparison is the least functional thing that you can put your energy into, I think, as an aviator and as a pilot. And like Mark said, the physics work the same irrespective of your licensure or certification. And Mark, to what you're saying, you could steal a plane and you're still gonna have to answer to the aerodynamics gods. But I love that the progress that MOSAIC represents, and I agree with what you said also, Mark, about over time, this is going to be kind of a non-issue. The worlds are blending, and it's not going to matter so much, I don't think, at all in a few years. And there's always going to be the battles, the culture wars within the subculture, and the 141 versus Part 61, and all the mythologies that go along with that. There's a little bit of truth to it, the Part 61 cowboy versus the buttoned up 141 characters and all this. I mean, perhaps there's some truth to some of this stuff, but these caricatures get spun out and then become manifested in the culture in some way that doesn't make any sense. If you're around people like that, find other people to hang out with, be in our Discord at the very least, and you'll get a sense of what a respectful aviation community feels like. And go where the people make you feel good about what you're doing, and don't go where people are diminishing what you're doing.
Yeah, and to echo that again, nobody cares. Just do it.
Yeah.
Couple of comments here. Lord Alpha Juliet said Ted flew to New Orleans. Well, actually, I flew over to Mobile, Alabama as well. So if you want to go from distance, that's Portland to Mobile, Alabama, I think is the furthest I've been. And AJ also says, did anyone mention gliders? I'm not sure that we did. Gliders are a great option, especially in Arizona. A friend of the show got his commercial glider done there. Plenty of glider places to do gliders there, and you can fly gliders without a medical. You can fly gliders with a denied medical. You can fly gliders with a sport. So it doesn't matter. So those are definitely an option.
And back to maintenance. I mean,
yes. If we did mention gliders, I think AJ may have had a stroke because he only said it 7,000 times in the chat. So I'm glad you hit that.
Yes.
Oh, all right. Well, let's wrap it up, guys.
Let's wrap it up, guys. So please don't forget to leave us a 5-star review. Send us feedback. Any interaction is fantastic. Tonight's bit of wisdom is it is in honor of Sierra Victor, our feedbacker today. A mile of highway will take you a mile, but a mile of runway will take you anywhere. Signing off. Episode 173 of the Midlife Pilot Podcast. Goodbye, everybody.